Hey everyone! Surprise bonus live stream. How's everyone doing? It's not a class though. I mean, I always say that. Like, what I mean is that there's no like outline you can get or worksheet on the Patreon page. It means that there aren't like a bunch of sentences we go through. It's more of like a review, but we'll still do some Korean today. At least a little bit. Let's see who's here. Cosma, Keith, welcome. Niaru, Natalie, Kitty Mommy, Gummy Girl, Mino, or Mino Hyung, I guess it is. There you go. Vehi Smahili, 1441. Nice, nice. Helen, just saying hi to a few people I can see here. Welcome, welcome. Got some good news. If you are a Stray Kids fan, raise your hand. I know some of you are. Tomorrow will be the first episode of my Stray Kids analysis series, where I take a look, a pretty in-depth look, I'll say. It's the most in-depth I've ever done for this series. About all the members of Stray Kids. So like their voice tone, intonation, how fast they talk, how they sound overall, filler words, dialect, handwriting, yeah, pretty much everything that would possibly stand out at all about how they speak Korean, how they use politeness, polite speech. Would do the two members from Australia sound like they are? You know, all these little things that people have asked me to analyze. Since the last time I took a look at them was in 2021, at the beginning of 2021. I made a quick video where I just kind of briefly looked over two of the members who are from Australia, Pangchan and Felix. That's it. And I only looked at them, and I didn't look at them really in depth. It was just supposed to be kind of a general video. Like I watched several hours of them talking and just kind of, you know, put some notes together. But this time it's like full. The first episode that'll come out tomorrow will of course be the leader, Pangchan, and that will be the video is, I tried my best to shorten it, okay? But it's like 38 minutes long, I think. Originally it was 40 and I managed to cut that down a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 38 or so minutes. So you're going to be eating pretty well for the next 8 weeks, starting from tomorrow. Although not every video is going to be that long. Just the first one has like it has like an introduction, kind of my overall opinion of the entire group, and a quick, you know, overview of what Stray Kids is for people who are watching who don't know. But still, yeah, it's you're looking at each video is probably going to be somewhere around 25 minutes, I'd say, for most of the members, around 25 minutes. But yeah, the first one just turned out to be like 38 minutes. So just so you know, going into it, they're not all going to be that long. Pangchan is, Felix is possible. Depends on how that goes. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a very big series. My wine went to Stray Cats. I like Stray Cats. Hirkoyangi. Yeah, in Korea, you'll get to see lots of stray cats if you walk around. They're called kir, literally street, koyangi, kirkoyangi. So street cats is what they call them. And there are a few other words you can use. You can also use like nabi for referring to any sort of random cat. Nabi meaning butterfly. It's just kind of the default name for a kind of any sort of cat that doesn't really have any other name is just nabi. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so hopefully you watch it. Hopefully you enjoy it. I spent a lot of time, like a ton of time, coming up with the making these videos. I calculated, and in total it's like, I think it was close to 200 videos that I had watched and then downloaded. And yeah, I don't even want to think of how many hours. It's so much. I was watching the first week doing research was, I would wake up and I would just like, you know, shower and get ready and everything, and then turn on Stray Kids videos and have my you know, Microsoft Word open, be taking notes, writing stuff down, making little clips, and then doing that all the way until like 7 or 8 o'clock. And then doing the same thing again the next day and the next day. That was before I did the individual member research, just kind of trying to gather general info on the whole group. But yeah, hopefully you like it. You can actually watch it right now, the first episode. I put it up on my Patreon page. If you're one of my the special Patreon members with deep pockets, you get to watch it already. It's up there. But yeah, for everyone else, it'll be Monday. And then the next video, I also finished the first two actually, Pangchan and then Lino. Lino's video will go up the week after that. But if you are a Patreon member, you can also watch that tomorrow. So you could get the first two episodes right away. Okay, I did get a Korean question, so I should do that before we get started with our class. Mino Hyung asks, what is reason? And actually Keith replied, EU is one of the ways to say reason. I'd say that's probably a good answer. Emily asks, are you a stay now? I'm not in anything. I've done now this series for, BTS, ATEEZ, TXT, Monsta X, Stray Kids. I've done twice. GOT7. I've done a few other people. I'm not really in anything because I don't listen to K-pop, so I can't really call myself a stay unless I'm actually following their music, trying to get tickets to their concert, that sort of thing. I would say would be considered a stay. I might know more about them than a stay because I've been listening to them talk for so long, but I wasn't going through their discography and listening to their music for research. I was actually just doing them speaking Korean. So most of what I did was interviews, sit down interviews turned out to be my favorite source for how they actually speak, as well as their live streams were really useful. Because when you hear them speaking in a show, it sounds different, noticeably different from how they speak in live stream. Just for anyone, if you're curious, if you want to know, how does your favorite celebrity speak? If you want to know how they actually sound, if you watch their shows, that's for entertainment. But if you want to know how they actually speak, you have to listen to their live streams, because you can do a lot of stuff with editing. I'm an editor myself. You can change a lot of stuff by editing. So yeah, if I would use a lot of live streams for research. But then clips, I would use clips from their shows because those are more entertaining as much as I could. Except for filler words. Filler words came from live streams mostly because they would usually cut all their filler words out in the edited shows. Welcome. Seems you are more interested in boy groups though. Haha. Yeah, it's whatever the people on my my Patreon members recommend. So most of my Patreon members like boy groups, I guess. I almost did a girl group though, but the boy group won last time. So it's whatever my Patreon members want me to, whoever they want me to review. Yes. EU is reason or why something happened. That's correct. Yeah. That would be the most default word I would say for reason is, as Keith wrote, EU. I keep asking for, Red Velvet. Yeah, Red Velvet was on the vote the last time. And before, that was when I did, when I did Monsta X. I believe the final vote came down to 4. It was Monsta X, Red Velvet, Le Sserafim, and Blackpink. I think it was those 4 were the final contenders. It's going to be one of these. And everyone picked Monsta X by far. So this time, though, Red Velvet didn't get that high. When I put Stray Kids on the vote this time, that was by far the most popular choice. BTS was a second choice, but it wasn't because BTS is less popular or anything. It's because I already did a full series on all members of BTS a few years ago. So I think that was kind of still in their minds, hey, Billy's already analyzed them. If Billy wants to do another update to them, let's wait until there's been some more material that I can use, because I was going to do a video comparing how they sound before and after military, but in order to do a proper video, I would need a lot of good material of them speaking, especially live streams, since they've come back from the military. Then I can compare and talk about, oh yeah, well, you can see, look at the traits I found last time. Let's see if they still hold up. Yes, they still hold up, that sort of format. But I guess Stray Kids would be more interesting since I've never covered them. So that's why Stray Kids won by actually 1%. It was 1 vote, I think. 1 or 2 votes. It was really small that Stray Kids actually won. But yeah, before we get started with the review today, we're going to be reviewing the plain form. It's kind of a lot to actually talk about. If you have any Korean questions or questions about anything, now is the time. Oh, I bought my plane ticket to Korea. Woohoo! I'm going to be going to Korea again this year. I mean, that's probably not a surprise because I go every year. I have for over the past decade, gone every single year, sometimes twice a year, several on many occasions. But I purchased my ticket as well for this summer. This is the most expensive I've ever seen tickets to Korea in my entire life. Like significantly more, which sucks, but it is what it is. So if anyone's planning a trip to Korea, this is not the normal ticket price. Maybe it is from going forward, but it's much more than it normally is. I would usually get my ticket for like $1,100. I would like pick the right date, like the best date, best time and everything like that. And now the cheapest ticket I was able to possibly find, like sale, everything, cheapest time was almost $1,400, which is ridiculous. Like $300 difference almost from what I normally would pay at the best, like the best ticket price. So yeah, it's not great. It just means I'll have $300 less to spend on food when I'm over there. And I don't know, like a room. I booked a room. So I have my trip ready to go. Hopefully we'll do another, it would be cool to do another fan meetup while I'm there. So if there's anyone in Korea this year, probably I don't want to say actually yet, but sometime this summer, because if I say, then there's going to always be people messaging me, asking me to move it sooner or later so that they can meet me. I don't know when it's going to be yet, but hopefully we can do another meetup this year while I'm there in the summer. I also would like to film some new videos. So if you have any requests for videos you'd like to see, something like someone you'd like me to meet, let me know. Did you replace your keyboard and mouse already? Yeah, last week I showed it off. So I asked for donations 2 weeks ago to get a new mouse and keyboard. The mouse was $40, so I didn't need too much for that. But you pitched in, not you, but you know what I mean, you watching, donated. So I got a new mouse, which is great because my other one wouldn't work, and this one's fabulous. It's a Chinese knockoff brand of the Logitech, but it works really good. And then I didn't actually have enough money in the budget for this, but I ended up, instead of getting a cheap $20 Bluetooth keyboard, membrane keyboard, I decided to go for my very first mechanical keyboard, which is very nice. I'm happy to have it. It's cool to hear the clickety when I type. Although I did get silent keys, which is, I didn't want the really like loud ones, but still sounds nice. It works nice. It's Bluetooth. It has lights, which I promptly turned off the first day to save battery, but it's still nice. So I'm very glad that I was able to upgrade. I'm sad that I can't upgrade my computer. However, my computer this year will be 10 years old. My editing computer. When I first built it, actually, I didn't buy it, but when I built it myself, it was pretty good. And I was editing videos in HD, 1 track of HD, maybe some effects, and then I would save it. It would be like a 10-minute video, and that was it. That was all I was doing 10 years ago. Nowadays, every video I make is 4K when I edit it, and it'll be a minimum of like 2 tracks, often 3 tracks of full 4K footage on top of each other, and higher quality audio. And videos that I make now are much longer. Like instead of 5 or 10 minutes, now my average is like 15 minutes, I think, for a lot of my videos. So I'm still working with that same computer. So I wanted to upgrade my computer this year, but I missed my chance because of RAM prices now. So I won't be able to upgrade, but at least I have a nice computer, a new keyboard and mouse, which feels good. Kind of makes me think I have a new computer, I guess. Lexica says, we'll need to give you hazard pay if we ever vote to analyze 17. Oh God, there are so many members of that group. I know. That's the problem, is if I analyze, the larger the group I analyze, the more time it takes. Like Stray Kids, I told you, I've been waking up in the morning early actually. Like I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning so I can get ready and everything. Start from 8, go all the way until 8 p.m. with a break for lunch. And I'm just watching Stray Kids videos and taking notes and making clips and stuff like that. So each member came out with about 40 to 50 clips in the end. and is going to be around 25 to 30 minutes average, I think, except for the first one I said is 38 minutes. And if I were to do a larger group than that, I'm just doing that for triple the time. Stray Kids was over a month, and I'm still not done with it. I still have to edit them, which is going to take another 2 weeks if I'm fast. But yeah, 17 or something. It would just be like my whole channel. I have to change my channel to learn 17 with Go Billy 17. Like that would have to be my life to do something that big. Alternatively, I could do a quick analysis if you don't mind that I don't do a full in-depth analysis like what I normally do. I could just go through in one day, watch a bunch of their videos, take some notes, and just pick out only the major things that stand out about them to me. But that's not as fun as me going through and analyzing like everything about them, right? Like you want to know their filler words, how they write, specific details about why they sound the way that they do, not just me saying, oh, this person mumbles. But I like to kind of go further and find out exactly what kind of mumbling are they doing. Are they just, not pronouncing it clearly? Some people have different styles of mumbling. So I have to replace my laptop. It's still Windows 10. Yeah, I have my computer's also Windows 10, as well as I have a laptop that's Windows 11, but I don't do my editing on there because it's small. But yeah, my desktop right now that I'm streaming from is also Windows 10. Go Billy 17. Sanem, thank you. Spread it out, maybe no more than one a month. Yeah, it's the year of 17. I'll do that in 2017. I should have done that in 2017, right? The year of 17. And then once a month, I would put out one video for each member, for like that. No, but the problem with that is after the first, I would have to do them all at once still. Even if I release them once every month, I would have to make them all at the same time regardless. Because otherwise, if I do one member and then try to do the next member, I'll have forgotten, by the time I do like 4 members in, I'll have forgotten information about the first member that I need to properly analyze the 4th member. Because sometimes there's dynamics that I want to include, like this member is always teasing this member, or they speak a little differently to each other. And I would miss that if I did them one at a time separately. I have to do them all together to get that. Like something you'll hear for the video for tomorrow is a unique detail about how Pangchan uses casual speech to the other members that I would not have been able to get if I was just listening to him speak by himself. 언젠가 한국에 유학 가고 싶어요. Oh yeah, that would be really cool. Well, what school do you want to go to? Sanam, I've been dying to ask, how'd the plaid shirt and hat become your uniform? This is the first, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but this is the very first time I've ever worn a hat, actually. I just thought I'll try it out for today. And this shirt, I literally just picked it up yesterday from Ross. So I don't know. It could become a style. I kind of like it, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what your question is. I'm sorry. 오늘 topic, 주제. What's the 주제 today? I do have some DDR4 RAM I can give Chupika. That's a very nice offer. For the type of editing that I do though, which is like 10-bit 4K 422 footage, if that means anything, it's going to need the highest. I need DDR5 probably. I know it's not a huge difference, but I want to get something that's going to be good for another 10 years. And it's going to have, and then some, whatever the top GPU is for video editing. I don't know what it's going to be. I already know my budget is going to have to be around $3,000 for just the tower by itself. Not like I do need a new monitor. I need a couple other small things, but just the tower itself, I'm budgeting around $3,000 for the day I do that. But that's not going to be for a while. It might not be this year or next year. We'll have to see. Seeing you react to 17's loud chaos would definitely be something. 무슨 대학교 가고 싶은지 모르겠는데 혹시 추천 있어요? Do I have any recommendation? I don't, actually. I would just say if you're trying to go for an exchange, then you would look at different things from someone going to Korea to study Korean, because the Korean programs at the school have different reviews than the actual schools do. In case you didn't know, like, for example, if you go to like Yonsei is like one of the top universities in Korea. but anyone could get there just to study Korean. Like, you don't have to have good grades to go to Yonsei, the Korean program, because it's separate from the actual Yonsei school. It would be like if someone came to the US and they studied at Princeton's English Academy, but literally to get there, all you had to do is pay the registration fee and fly over to the US. It's kind of like that. It's like, it doesn't mean you went to Princeton. So for the Korean language schools, I've heard lots of good things about Sogang. Sogang is one of the language schools in Seoul. It's actually also a university, but their language program for Korean, I've heard a lot of good things about. As far as colleges, though, I'm not really sure which would be best, because I've never been to a Korean college, like, as a student, or know anyone right now who's at a Korean university as a student. So I'm not sure. Oh, wait, no, I did know. No, that's right. One of my friends was also at Sogang as well and liked it. But I don't know, like, which one's the best. I would just recommend somewhere in Seoul, because that's where there are going to be the most people you can meet and the most things you can do, especially if you haven't lived in Korea before. 3,000 might get you RAM at the current. Yeah, sadly, I'm going to need a 128 kit. So we'll see how that goes. I know I'm looking at about over $1,000 for that, but maybe Micro Center has something, right? Micro Center's got all the cool stuff. This is sponsored by Micro Center. If you're watching, please, oh God, please sponsor me. I will drive right down to Micro Center and make a sponsored video if you will just build me my friggin' computer, or else I'm not gonna be able to make one this year. Do you have a video on how to use... No, I don't have videos on how to use individual words. That's not my thing on my channel. I would always just recommend a dictionary, because that's really what a video about a word would be, is just, here's the word, here's what it means, here are some example sentences, right? And the dictionary has all of that. Naver Dictionary would have it. Yeah, Sogang is also, I'll recommend that for, at least for their language school. I'm interested in the airlines. Yeah, Parata announced, okay, so there are several airlines. Asiana got eaten by Korean Air, so it used to be another budget alternative. Korean Air is like the big one. If you have lots of money, I would say, and you just want to fly as comfortably as possible. The friendliest service, that would be Korean Air. They're happy to speak Korean with me, which is nice. If I start speaking Korean, they'll realize it, they'll remember it, and they'll switch to Korean when I'm flying. They have a really good selection of in-flight entertainment. They don't have as many good snacks as they used to in the past, but their food is okay. You can customize to get different types of food. I always do like either the low sodium or the fruit only, just so that I don't get all like bloated because it's so much salt. But yeah, Korean Air is like, you have lots of money. You can, $2,500 for a ticket. That's so cheap. Sure. Then yeah, Korean Air. The cheaper version would normally be Air Premia. Air Premia is a recently launched one several years ago, I guess, maybe from 2020, 2021-ish. They're not that old. And that was originally the budget version. So they were significantly cheaper than Korean Air. Now, though, they're only a couple $100 or $200-$300 difference, but still cheaper. That's what I'm flying this year. It's okay. The service is like 80% of what you get from Korean Air. The food's about 80%. The in-flight entertainment is like 8%. It's abysmal. Like, don't expect anything except for like 2 episodes of some show from 3 years ago, like a rerun, 1 episode of the show, and then some movie you've never even heard about. It's pretty bad. And that's okay, though. It's cheaper. And then there's a new one coming out, Parata, which was originally a Gangwon, which is like the northeast side of Korea. It was a Gangwon Air that would just fly people around Korea, domestically mostly. They're expanding into international, and then later this summer, they're going to be opening up some US to Korea direct flights as well, and that will definitely be cheaper than Air Premia, because it's a budget airline that, it flies older airplanes. So the one kind of fun thing, though, about Parata, I'm sorry, it's 2 o'clock, so I'll start. But one of the interesting things that I'm kind of looking forward to is that they have, I don't know the best way to describe it. Gender neutral might be the best way. More comfortable for the airline employees, uniforms. So they have uniforms that aren't just like, skirt for the girl, pants for the guy, but you could have like pants for the girl, or like, I'm not skirt for the guy, but it's more like, I don't know. comfortable for the workers. It's not like they're not like dressing up and like putting like a bow on their head like Korean Air does. Anyway, that's kind of the one of the interesting things that they have for Parata that they've announced. But yeah, it should be cheaper than what's currently available. So I'm curious, but they haven't announced anything. They just said they're starting flights this summer, quote unquote, but that doesn't mean that they will. And it doesn't mean that summer means summer. It could be like in August, they say, hey, we're launching some in the summer starting October. So I can't really rely on them yet. Okay. Concern about getting bloated from salt. It's not a Korean thing. It's just that if you have airline food, it's saltier than the food that you would normally have on the ground, because the higher elevation you go, the less you're able to taste salt. It's just a science thing. So if you have the same food in the air that you would on the ground, it's going to taste less salty. So they make it with a little more salt. The problem is they're also kind of stingy with their water. Okay? Air Premia, if you're watching this, you guys are stingy with your water. Just give me the bottle, or give me like a whole bottle. They have like these cups that you would get at the dentist office, right? You like gargle and spit. That's your water cup. And they'll like, you know, gingerly fill you like 2 cups of it if you'd like, but they're, oh, let me know if you need any more. I'm like, you gave me like a freaking cap full. But anyway, so I need more water. And so I usually get less sodium food when I'm flying, just so that it doesn't make me all like dehydrated and stuff, which is uncomfortable. Okay. Yeah, no airline sponsorship. I'd be happy to if they want to contact me. So I thought for today, since we don't have a regular live class today, I wanted to just review something that a lot of people mess up, but it's pretty simple. We're going to be talking about what's known as the plain form. Again, this is not a regular lesson. Plain form or plain tense, whatever. This is not a regular lesson, so I don't have like an outline or worksheet or anything for that. I've actually done a live stream all about this as well, but I wanted to review it today because it's something that you're going to need for one of our future lessons. It's something you use all the time. Okay, so plain form basically is, it by itself is not a level of speech. So, you know, like casual speech, polite, you know, like formal speech, honorifics, humble speech, all that. Those can be within like speech levels. Plain form is not. Plain form is separate. It by itself is not polite or rude or anything. It is plain, as they say. Now, if you use plain form in speech by itself, it's casual. If you actually say it out loud, like just for example, like kada would become kanda. If you just say kanda, it's casual in that usage. But plain form itself is not casual. It depends on how it's being used. If you use plain form with grammar forms that require plain form, it could be formal and honorific and everything. It doesn't matter. Like, 선생님은 없다고 하셨어요. 없다고 하셨어요. Plain form. It doesn't mean 없다 is casual. It doesn't mean it's formal. It's just 없다. It doesn't exist. 없다고 하셨어. 하셨어요, 하셨습니까, whatever you want to say. That's what determines how polite it is. Plain form by itself is nothing, but how it's used can be casual to formal or whatever. So yeah, if you use it by itself, though, it's casual. So it's like stupid easy to make. Just to conjugate it in the present tense is really easy. You're either going to add one of two things. For action verbs, so if you're doing something, you're either going to attach 는, 다, if it ends in a consonant, let's see, or this letter, nian, with 다, if it ends in a vowel. There's one exception to that, which I'll write up here. If the verb stem ends with this letter, the L letter, lir, you just remove it. And then you do the same thing. So like, there aren't too many of these verbs, but like, 살다, to live. 한국에 살아요. 한국에 살, you remove it. 산다. So you get 산다. 한국에 산다. I live in Korea. That's the only exception, is this letter for action verbs. So I'll leave this up for just a minute so you can write it down. So let's look at a couple examples. Like I gave you the example kanda. Kada, to go. Ka, get the stem. It ends in a vowel. You attach that and you're done. That's it. There are no other exceptions. You know how there are like a bunch of other verb stems that sometimes do weird things on their own when you make the yo form, like the shield, the S letter, or like the H letter, or all those things. There are no exceptions for that. You don't have to do any of that. Even the ones that end with the B letter, piup, like nupta, or like some of them topta, some of them do and some of them don't change or go away and change. Doesn't matter. You simply slap on this or this depending on what it ends with. So let's take the verb 먹다, to eat. 먹, it ends in a consonant. 는다, 먹는다. 간다, 하다, to do. 하, 한다. 눕다, to lie down. 눕는다, 눕는다. No exceptions. Zero. The only one is this. The only exception is verb stems that end with this letter. Like 만들다, to make. 만들, 만든다. It's always going to be this. So anytime there's this letter, you can just go straight to this with ta. Okay, I'll leave this up for a minute. There's a little more to it, but that's all there is for action verbs to make plain form. They're always surprised when foreigners are fluent. Yes. 재밌겠다 is, yeah, we'll talk about that. Don't worry. Yeah, Sanam, so in speech, if you want to know what this is in speech, if someone ever uses any form of plain form, so what we're doing right now, or we'll also talk about past tense, any sort of sentence that ends with ta, it sounds like this, it is casual, but not only that, the nuance it has is like you're holding up a megaphone and saying something out loud. Hey, everyone who can hear me, I'm talking to myself, saying something that I'm going to do or describing something, I'm announcing it. So when you say this by itself, like 간다, it's like, I'm leaving, I'm going. 먹는다, I'm eating. 재밌겠다, that's gonna be fun. Wow, that's gonna be fun. It's like you're just announcing it to everyone. You're not simply saying, oh, I have to go, or I'll be leaving now, just so you know. It's just an announcement to anyone within earshot. So I think you can kind of think of this as like a megaphone, the plain form. Whenever you're using it in speech, it's like a megaphone. Now, you can also use it to yourself. 너무 어렵다. Man, that's too hard. But in that case, it's still a megaphone. There's just no one that's listening to it. You're announcing it, but it's for yourself. You're just making that announcement for yourself. Like if you're sitting down at the table and you're like studying, 진짜 너무 어렵다. Oh, it's so hard. It's so difficult. That's the same thing. But in that case, you're not announcing it for, you're not letting, hey everyone, just so you know, you're saying it just to yourself, but the feeling is like you're holding up a megaphone and just announcing it, whether anyone is there to listen or not. So yeah, it doesn't really have any other nuance though. It's just, here it is, like that. But that sort of nuance, if it's directed at someone else, like you're doing megaphone to someone else in their face, it's casual, right? If you're doing megaphone in the air, it's not casual if it's directed at no one, right? If you are just saying to yourself, you're walking down the street, 춥다, like it's cold. We'll talk about that in a second. Don't worry. You might be wondering, why is it conjugate differently? Don't worry. 춥다 would be a plain form as well. 춥다 is to be cold. So let's just say you say 춥다, which is plain form. 춥다. No one else is listening. That's not casual. Because, I mean, it's casual, but it's not rude, is what I mean to say about it. It's not casual. You're not directing casual speech at anyone. It's just like you're holding up the megaphone to the air. It's so cold. But you're not directing it at anyone in particular. So it's not rude. You're just saying it to yourself. However, when you pull out the megaphone and point it at someone, you look at their face and you say, 춥다. That's casual. When you're directing plain speech, plain form at anyone in particular, when it's directed at anyone, it becomes casual. When it's not directed at anyone, when it's just, hey, I'm just saying to myself, that is when it doesn't have any sort of casual feeling. It's not formal or anything. It's just neutral. It doesn't have a polite or impolite feeling. It has neither. Okay, hopefully that kind of clears it up. Because the next thing I wanted to say is, I said this is for an action verb. That's really all you have to write down, because descriptive verb is easy. Descriptive verb, nothing changes. You take the descriptive verb, 춥다, to be cold, 덥다, to be hot, 그렇다, to be so, 높다, to be high, 길다, to be long, and it's done. It is what it is. 춥다, the end. You don't have to do anything for it. So 0 rules, 0 exceptions. The end. Which is really nice. Technically, though, what you are doing with the plain form is you are removing the ta, you're getting the stem, and then because it's a descriptive verb, you attach ta. So you end up with the exact same thing for the present tense. Which way does 깨닫다 go? 는다. Like I said, 0 exceptions for this. Plain form is really nice and easy. 깨닫는다. Would you use this in writing form? Yeah. So Tyler asked a good question. When would you use this in writing? Plain form. I was going to get to that eventually, but if you asked, we'll answer it right now. Another place, there's several places you'll use plain form. So if you're using it in speech, it could either be casual, directed at someone, or just you're talking out loud if it's not directed at anyone, in which case it's not casual or anything. If you use it in writing, it is considered to be directed at no one. When you write plain form, it is directed at no one, such as in an essay. So the place you're going to use this the most in writing will be when you're writing essays. And if you're writing an essay, you have to use plain form. If you say 좋아해요, 맛있어요, 그래요, anything like yo form or anything like that, that is automatically, they're going to knock down points because you don't speak. Those are spoken only grammar endings. You have to use plain form when you're writing an essay, because the idea is that an essay is not directed at anyone. You're simply, like, again, you're holding up the megaphone to no one in particular. That's what you want in an essay. You don't want it to be polite, because the reason why is because you don't know who's reading the essay. It's not directed at anyone in particular. If you're giving a speech, however, a speech is directed toward an audience. So you're going to write it according to how you would want to speak to that audience. If it's an audience of your friends, it's going to be casual, right? At work, it might be really formal if you're talking to the boss, but a essay is directed at no one. So if you're writing, same with an example sentence. So if you're making an example sentence, like, here's just an example of how to use the grammar form. You can also do it with just plain form for the same reason. But any essay, anytime you have to write any answer on your test, unless the teacher tells you specifically write this using like yo form because they want you to practice the yo form, something like that. If they don't direct you to use a specific form, this is what you have to use. And anytime you do an essay, it has to be in this form, plain form, 100%, or it sounds awkward because it sounds like if you use a different form, it sounds like you're trying to direct it at someone specifically, but then the reader might be the teacher, in which case it could be too polite or too casual, or it might be like the next kid that reads it. So yeah, plain form for all essays. Is it used as an exclamation? It can be, like I said, like a megaphone, in which case it's like, man, wow, this is so delicious. Oh, it's cold today, like that. Like, you know that dumb feature on Instagram where you can like update your status? It's like that. That's like what the plain form feels like. Like no one asked, but you can just read them if you want to see how people are feeling or what they're doing. That's kind of like what using the plain form is. It doesn't have a casual or formal feel. It's just kind of, you're blowing it to the wind sort of thing. Okay. So for present tense, like meaning something is, I do, I go, I'm going, I like something, 좋아한다, I like it. 먹는다, 이제 먹는다, I'm eating, like that. Present tense, something happening right now. That's all there is. Oh, and then, you know, other verbs like ida, the end. 있다, 있다. since this is not a regular lesson, since we're doing more like review, I do want to talk about this for a second. So what is ita? Well, ita is normally the verb that means to exist, right? So to exist would be a descriptive verb or an action verb. It's an action, descriptive verb, right? So when you conjugate it to the plain form, you're left with ita, the end. So I am in Korea. Or you can say like 지금, like right now, 지금 한국에 있다. The end. Oh, I got a donation from Lexica. My minute 7 got distracted while knitting. What are you knitting? So this is minute 7 times 2. Thank you, Lexica. Thank you, Lexica, for being my sponsor today. I always keep almost writing 7 though when you donate. It's just a habit from minute 7. Thank you. Kitty Mommy says it is self-talk. If you're thinking to yourself and not saying it, do they think in plain form? Plain form is one of the ways you can do it. Yeah. There are many things though you can use when doing self-talk. In fact, I cover all of those in the politeness level course. There's one of the lessons that talks all about the forms used when you're saying something hypothetically or when you're just talking to yourself. Plain form is one of them, but you'll also hear G ending a lot because it's like, oh man, what was that, right? Oh, I can't think of it. Was it that? I think it was that, right? Kind of like you're confirming it with yourself is another common one. There are a few other forms you can use as well, but you're not going to be using like yo or nida or anything like that because those are for specific politeness levels. You're like being extra polite to someone or less polite to someone. It kind of sounds awkward when you're talking to yourself. So, ita to exist means, ita means to exist, and the way to use it is just ita in the plain form. But here's something you probably didn't know. There are actually 2 verbs that are ita. Or I shouldn't say 2 verbs, 2 uses for the verb ita. It's the same verb. There is, if you check the dictionary, you'll see 2 different entries though for it. One is ita to exist. The other one is ita, same thing, but while this one is a descriptive verb, this one is an action verb and means to stay somewhere. Like that's where you're staying. Like if someone says, where are you in Korea? 지금 한국에 있어. It could mean I exist, I am right now in Korea. It could also mean 한국에 있어. 한국에 갈 때마다 한국에 있어. Well, I wouldn't say that. Every time I go to Korea, I'm in Korea. 한국에 갈 때마다 서울에 있어. Every time I go to Korea, I am in Seoul. It could mean I exist, or it could also mean I stay in Seoul. Now, it doesn't really matter, right? Because 한국에 있어요 means I am in Korea. I stay in Korea. I am in Korea. It's kind of the same. Like you are at that place. But stay implies that you're there for more than a second. Whereas like you can say like right now I exist in Korea, but if I'm staying in Korea, it's kind of like being there, living there, being there for a while, not moving for a while. So it just implies more longevity. You're staying there for longer. And the reason I'm telling you this is because these conjugate differently. Believe it or not. This is something you probably don't know. But to exist is always ita in the plain form. To stay is a regular verb. It's an action verb. So how do you conjugate an action verb in the plain form? Well, you get the stem. It ends with something. It doesn't end with a vowel, so we attach this. 있는다. There is this is real. And it's pretty common. 한국에 있는다. I'm staying in Korea. So, the reason why I think you probably won't know this, though, is because even if you're saying you're staying in Korea, most of the time when doing plain form, you just write ita, no matter what the meaning is supposed to be. it's acceptable to just say 있다, to just use this. Even when you mean to stay, people will still just say 있다. They'll still just write 있다. It doesn't matter. Both of them are acceptable. So even if you're saying that a person is staying somewhere, it's okay to just not conjugate it this way. But if you see it conjugated this way, that's what it's supposed to imply. Not that someone exists somewhere, but they're actually staying in a location. So you can see this. And this is also correct. I mean, technically it's more correct because it's the action of staying. There are a few verbs though that do this, where they have two different meanings. Another really common one. Again, it's fairly common, but you don't have to do it. You can just say 있다. Like, for example, if you were expressing like, oh, I heard that right now they're staying in Korea. 지금 한국에 있는다고 들었어. You could say 한국에 있다고 들었어. It sounds perfectly fine, even though you meant to say 머물다, to stay, 있는다. So both are okay. Another really common one is 늦다, to be late. There is a descriptive version. There's a descriptive verb version and there's an action verb version. If you say you are late, like, oh, it's already late, as in like the time is late, the time is past when it's supposed to be, then you can use 늦다. In which case, 늦었다 or 늦다, like it's late. But if you're saying someone is like to be late, they arrive, basically to arrive late, that's an action verb. In which case this conjugates as 늦는다. And these ones are both used regularly. 있다 was a bit of an exception where you can use 있다 for both. These ones are not. This one you do use both 늦는다 and 늦다 depending on what you're trying to say. Like, the time is late. This one actually is the time is past when it's supposed to be. And this one is the action of being late, like you're arriving late. 진짜 철수 자꾸 늦는다. 철수가 자꾸 늦는다. 계속 늦는다. You wouldn't say 계속 늦다. That sounds weird. Because you're not saying 철수 is himself past the time, but you're saying, you could say the time is past, like it's late right now, but he is late. He arrives late. He keeps coming late. 늦는다 is commonly used. So there are a few more of these as well. I just got a donation, so let me check that. Thank you to whoever you are. Oh, Kai. Kai, they let you out. I'm always happy when they give Kai a break from the dungeons. Bonus live. Hi, friends. Delayed top of the hour. Kai, are you coming to my fan meetup this year? I don't know when it's going to be. I don't want to say because I don't know yet. Thank you, Kai. Can we learn the lore behind the 7-minute donation? Yeah. So last year or 2 years ago, I'm not sure. I have the list actually. I saved it. I allowed people to purchase the donation slots, which means that they get priority donation privileges for certain minutes of each hour. And a few people purchased those spots. Lexica bought minute 7. Kai bought the top of the hour slot. So the slots were sold. There were only a few slots available. They were very valuable. That's what the story is. You gotta let me know so I can plan. Okay. Yeah, I'll just say it's gonna be at the earliest. It'll be the end of May, and at the latest, it'll be the middle of June. Because anytime later than that, it's just too hot, and I don't have a place to have a meetup at. Like, I don't have a building, so it has to be outside. So it has to be sometime before it gets too hot. So sometime between the end of May and the middle of June, like it normally is each year. But I don't know the actual day yet. Okay. So that's how to make the present tense. Like someone is or something is, right? Right now it is, or does, or goes, sees, likes, whatever. Past tense is actually simpler. If you want to make the past tense plain form, so to say, not like, 간다, not that I'm going, 지금 간다, I'm leaving now, not that, but like, I left, I did it, 했어요. 갔어요, 먹었어요, 좋아했어요, whatever you want to say. It's very simple to make the plain form, but you have to first conjugate the verb to past tense anyway. So you get a verb. Normally you have the past tense, right? Like, for example, 했어요. You have to do all the work to get here. 했어요, or like to eat. 먹었어요, right? All of those things. And you, in order to get here, like 춥다, to be cold. 추웠어요. You have to do all of those like verb exceptions. All of those verb stem exceptions. There are like, 8 of them. You have to do all of that to get here, right? So you've done all that work and you've got here. And now you want to make it into the plain form. You don't want to say 어제 좀 추웠어요. You don't want to say 좀 추웠어요. You don't want to say it was a little cold yesterday. You want to say with plain form, man, it was cold yesterday. Or man, that was cold yesterday, like that. Oh, I just remembered something else I have to tell you for how to use the plain form. Okay. Once you've gotten here, though, it's extremely simple. No matter the verb type, description verb, action verb, whatever exception, all you do is this. Oops, that's too much. I was getting too excited there. All you do is this. You get to here, you get to these 2 letters, and you attach ta, and you're done. That's all you have to do, which is really nice. That's the same thing for even like ida. Like ida would normally become like iossoyo or yossoyo, depending on whether it's coming after a consonant or a vowel. So like 집 iossoyo or like 학교 였어요 였다. 이었다. That's it. No exceptions for this. 0. You don't even have to worry about like if it's a descriptive verb or an action verb or like this letter or anything, because that's already been taken care of in order to get the past tense in the first place. 진짜 너무 힘들었다. Man, that was so difficult. You're saying it to yourself again. Okay, there's one more usage of the plain form I'll tell you, which is also, I almost forgot. A Keith meetup? Are we going to have a Keith meetup? Can we do a Keith meetup? I'll advertise it on my channel. Like, hey, just wanted everyone to know that I'm going to the Keith meetup this weekend in June, and we're going to be hanging out with Keith. So the place we're going to be meeting is this day. There will be opportunities to take photos with Keith, get Keith's autograph, and hang out with other fans of Keith. I think we could do that. Yeah, ida would be a descriptive verb, definitely. Although there are linguists who will call it the copula. There's a technical term for it, which I kind of disagree, because it works exactly like a descriptive verb. But there are like more technical terms for a lot of the things that I teach you. I try to save you from that though, because unless it's necessary, I try to save you from that sort of stuff though. It's more useful for like analyzing languages, like especially when you start trying to compare languages together. But less useful for just trying to learn how to speak it. The verb ida gives me a headache. That hearing my name that much is freaking me out. I'm sorry. Then we'll call it the K meetup, and it'll be Kai and Keith, and only people with names that start with a K. And everyone else, they'll be like, "Oh, my name's Larry. My name's Mark. My name's No, I'm sorry. You can't. Could you be Kyle for a day? Can you be Kyle today? Oh, but my name's Sarah. How about Christy with a K? Can we do that?" And everyone has to have their name with a K in it. And then they can get in the meetup. Keycat. Yeah, Keycat, that's true. Keycat can be there, of course. We'll do that. Okay. So past tense is it. That's it. All you have to do past tense. Let me check. Yep, that's it. Now, future tense is also very simple, but there's a couple other things you need to know. Future tense, you have 2 options. Although technically, if we're being really technical, you have 2 options for present tense, 2 options for past tense, 2 options for future tense. But anyway, for future tense, you have 2 common options. One is the 겠다 form, right? You all know the 겠다 form, like 겠어요, 겠습니다, like 하겠습니다, 가겠습니다, right? You take the verb stem, like 하다, and then ket, and then you conjugate it, 씁니다. You know what I'm talking about. So here's how you make the future tense form using 겠다, like something will be. This is the same for an action verb or a descriptive verb. So you take the verb stem, like let's say 춥다, to be cold. You get the stem, you attach 겠다. Okay, and the next part you have to do is the most important part. You have to do this because you're done. So that's really easy. If you want to make the future tense of 겠다, future tense plain form using 겠다, it's just 겠다 and you're done. So actually, I think Keith had used this in an example, like 맛있겠다. So if you want to say like 맛있어요, like that is good. Well, 맛있겠다 literally means it would or must be good. So when you say, oh, 진짜 맛있겠다, literally you're saying, oh, that must be so good, which is how we would say looks. Oh, that looks so good. 아, 진짜 맛있겠다. Oh, that must be so good. If I ate it, I'm imagining it would be really good. So that's all you have to do. 겠다. You get that? You get that? The other way, though, you can make the future tense plain form is with the 것이다 ending, right? The 것이다 ending, right? So, like, you would probably know this as like 할 거야 or 할 거예요, 갈 거예요, like that. Normally, you would take 거 and then 이에요 and you conjugate it. So you can either get 것이에요, which is less common, but it's technically correct, or just 거예요. So you normally would attach this or this and onto the verb stem. There are some exceptions for that, right? The same way you would normally get the future tense anyway. Like 하다 would be like 할 거예요, right? Well, it's just like the 겠다. Once you get to here, you're done. So 할 것이다. You can either have 것이다 or 거다. I'm sorry if you can't read this. I should have been using different color markers, but you can either use 것이다 as is, or more commonly 거다. So 할 거다. 가다, 갈 거예요, right? 갈 거다. Or 갈 것이다 if you want. Either one's okay, but most of the time if you're actually saying it, it's going to be 거다. Which is the exact same thing. As 것 becomes 거 for short, and then 이다 becomes just 다 when it's used after a vowel. It can shorten to that. So you get 거다. Same thing. So either 겠다 or 것이다. That's all you have to do for the future tense. Let's add more. Keith merch. Oh God. Okay, cool gummy girl. Then you can come. You can come if you're cool gummy girl. There actually was a Ryan meetup where a bunch of people named Ryan. That sounds funny. That would be horrible. I wouldn't go there. What about a Billy meetup? I wouldn't go there because my name's not Ryan, but Billy meetup, we could do that. That's really funny. I think I had actually heard about that, but I don't know when I heard about that. That sounds familiar though. Twice in one sentence. Keith logo. What would the logo look like? I think it's just a big K. I think that's all you could do with maybe KitKat peering off to the side, like looking around the corner sort of thing on the letter. Billy Zane. Yeah. I couldn't meet Billy Mays, unfortunately. That was the Billy I always wanted to meet. A Billy meetup where each Billy speaks and teaches a different language. That could work. I also have my other friend Billy, Korean Billy. His English name's Billy, so he can teach like English dialects. We can get him. That could be fun. Kmart tried, it didn't work. Kmart, did they do a meetup with everyone named Kmart? That would be really weird. I don't think anyone would show up. Sponsored by Special K cereal. It's like the cereal with the most sugar ever invented is the Special K. It feels like. Cereal. I always loved eating cereal as a kid when it was nighttime. That was the best time to have cereal, was when you weren't supposed to be eating anything else. It was like 8 o'clock at night. You want to eat something? Let's have some cereal, right? It's like breakfast. So much sugar. Okay. So future tense, that's all you have to do. You're either attaching 겠다 or 거다. Now, there's another usage of the plain form I realized I've never taught before in the stream. I have taught it in my books before, though. If you use this in speech as a question, it sounds like you're saying, hey, I got to tell you something. The way it works, you take the plain form, you make your sentence that ends in the plain form, and then you add a raising intonation at the very end, like it's a question. You don't change the form. For example, like ita, to exist. Ita? Like you can say, 그게 있다? You're saying 그게 있어요. Hey, there is something. Oh, there is that thing I wanted to tell you. 그게 있다? This sounds like 그게 있다. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. So this is a common way of using the plain form. Again, it's going to be casual because you're ending a sentence with it and when you're directing it at someone. Anytime you use the plain form in a question, it's the same meaning as saying it, but it has the nuance of, hey, wait, I'm going to tell you about what I just said. So let me give you an example. This is any tense plain form. Okay. 철수가 영희를 좋아한다고 했다. So 철수 한다고 했다. 말했다. 철수 said 했다 that he 좋아한다, likes 영희. So this is a quote. If you don't know the quoting form, you could ignore it. Just kind of think of it as 했다 with a question if you don't know the rest. 철수가 영희를 좋아한다고 했다. So the meaning of it is 철수 said that he likes 영희. But it sounds like, hey, so 철수 said that he likes 영희. And it sounds like you're going to add something. It sounds like, hey, listen to me while I tell you more about this. So anytime you have a plain form ending with a question, intonation, again, you're not changing the conjugation. You're just adding that 했다 instead of 했다. It's 했다. It has the nuance of saying like, hey, I'm going to tell you more about this, but let me just set it up with this. So, hey, you know, 그게 있다? Like that. 그래, 그거 만들었다? Like, 어저께 케이크를 만들었다? Like, hey, I made a cake yesterday. You listening to me? Because I'm going to tell you how it was. So it's setting up when you're going to explain something. I've taught this before in one of my videos before. I can't remember where. I'm pretty sure my book has it too. But yeah, it's a lesser known usage of the plain form that I think now hopefully it's more known usage of the plain form. Okay, let's see here. There's a couple more things though you have to know about using the plain form. But I just want to make sure I don't miss the chat really quick. The only sponsor he can consider is Adobe. But it's a K meetup. Does Adobe have a product that starts with a K? Maybe we can work with that then. 한국어 배웁시다. He's like, please go back to the lesson. Fuzzy blanket merch for Kai. Okay. When you're using the plain form, you cannot use humble speech because Humble speech is lowering the speaker. But plain form, again, doesn't show any politeness by itself. So you cannot like lower yourself, but then like you're speaking completely plainly. You cannot use tall when you're using plain form. You can use honorifics to refer to someone else, but you instead use na. Only use na if you're writing an essay. Don't say 저는 something something 했다. Sounds really weird. 나는 했다. Now, this might be hard to do because you feel like it's not polite. So if you're writing an essay, I think a lot of people will just use tall because they like, oh, I don't want to be rude. Na is not rude when it's used in plain form. Actually, na itself is never rude. It can be used rude, but by itself is what I mean. In and of itself, na is not impolite at all. What na simply means is me and you are on the same level. That's all it means. It doesn't show, because what it's doing, it's not showing any respect or any talking down. There are other words that sound like you're talking a little bit down or you're talking up to someone. Na has none of that. It's very straightforward. But when you're speaking normally, it's not polite because it's like, hey, you're supposed to be more polite, but you're not. You're speaking like we're the same. We're not the same, bro. I'm older than you, we're not friends. But you have to use na when you're doing plain form. Let's see, what else do we make sure? Oh yeah, quoting. Actually, we can talk about that really briefly. So when you're using plain form, a really common way is talking to yourself. But it's not the only way you're going to talk to yourself. So plain form is one. If you just want to make a statement to yourself, like, oh, 맛있다. That's good. Tastes good. 재밌다. That's fun. Whatever. 그것도 해야 된다. I got to do that too. Like anything you're just making a statement to yourself. Plain form's good, but there are other forms you also will commonly want to use. The next one, I'm just checking my, the last time I taught this, I actually wrote down the ones that I would explain for this. Soft questions. Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Okay. When you're confirming, excuse me. When you're confirming something and you're talking to yourself, you'd use the 지 ending, which doesn't have any exceptions either. You just take the verb stem and you attach 지. 하다, 하지, 놀다, 놀지, 먹다, 먹지, 춥다, 춥지. Super easy. 쉽지. It's easy, huh? 그렇지. 그거 해야 했지. 거기도 가야 하지. 그것도 해야지. Like that. See, when you're talking to yourself, if you're confirming something, so this is just for saying it, just for a statement. Statement is just anything you simply say. It's not like confirming. It's not a question. It's just doop, the end. This is this. I go here. I do not do this. Like that. Statements are this. If you're confirming something, you use 지. If you're actually questioning yourself, like you don't know something, but you want to question it to yourself, 어저께였나? 뭐였지? 걔 이름 뭐였나? 기억이 안 나는데. 뭐였지? 그랬나? 어디 갔나? 뭐 했나? 그런가? You use this na or ka ending. And I have a separate live stream about when you use this. You're going to be using it for descriptive verbs with ka or action verbs with na. But it's the same meaning. This form is used when you're actually asking a question to yourself. And this one's like when you're just trying to confirm it. Like, oh, I just forgot their name. Oh, what was their name, right? Oh, I can't remember. 뭐였지? But if you actually don't know, 그 사람 이름 뭐였나? Oh man, what was their name? Like, what was it? I don't even know it. What was it? I wonder, like that. So if you're actually asking a question to yourself, use na or ka endings. Again, you're not going to use them with 요. 대체 어디 갔나? 철수가 대체 어디 갔나? Like, where in the world did 철수 go? But if you're trying to remember it, like, I know where he went, I just can't think of it. Ah, 철수가 어디 갔지? Where was it that he went? Like, I know it, I'm just trying to jog my memory. So if you're trying to jog your memory, use 지. If you really don't know, use 나 and 가. And there's one more. I don't know if I have space. I think I have to write up here. Another one you'll also commonly hear is 보라. 보라. Again, this one's for confirming when you're trying to jog your memory. This one is simply trying to remember. But it's similar. You can use either 지 or 보라. If you're trying to remember something, it just has a different nuance. 보라 sounds like you're trying to remember something from the past. Like, what was that? Oh man, I really can't remember. Really can't remember it. Like, it's in my memory, I just can't remember it. 보라. 뭐였더라? This one's less commonly used except for a few specific expressions. That's pretty common. I would say focus on this one because usually when you're talking to yourself, you're trying to remember something. It's like, oh, I know it, right? Oh, what was that, right? This one's like, oh man, I really don't remember that, but I know it's there somewhere. What was it? It's kind of like that. In this one, if you're actually asking a question, these are the most common ones for questions. This one's a little less common, but yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So these are the main 4 ways, the main 4 forms you'll use when you're talking to yourself. I'll leave this up for just a minute, and then I'll go back to a plain form. There's still a little bit more we can do. 뭘까? So the 가 form you could also use. 가 would simply be, and you could use actually, technically you can use any ending that's casual. The 가 form would be, what could it be? Would that be? Like that. So it's for making a suggestion. 그걸 좋아할까? And there are a few others too. So I'm not going to say like these are the only 4. Diona is another really common one. There are several others, but yeah, 가 is also fine. Adobe Acrobat. All right. Adobe Acrobat. We're doing it. The Adobe KROBAT Meetup. For only people with names that start with a K. So KiKat will be there, but because KiKat can't walk herself to the meetup, I have to, of course, come along. So I get a pass, even though my name doesn't start with a K. I can still go there because I'm KiKat's chaperone. Everyone else, though, will have to have a name that starts with K to get in. But I think we can work around that. Sponsored by Adobe Acrobat. Hey, Samada Duta 89. Thank you. One of these days I'll learn how to pronounce your name. Is it Samada? Oh wait, I don't want to write it with black. You get purple. All my special sponsors get purple. Thank you, Samada. Or Samat. Yeah, it should be Samada, right? Sponsorship acquired. Yes. Tell them, tell your people to call my people. K-Billy could go. K-Billy K go. I could also go, though, being a Korean teacher. I think that could work. Oh, and I saw a question also. Is 지 in question toward other people? No, this is when you're talking to yourself. Normally, though, yes, you would use it in a question when you're asking someone something, which is fine. But it can also be used when you're talking to yourself, in which case it's just asking the question to yourself. Like, oh man, that was that. What was that, right? Like, was it this, right? I think it was, huh? Eh? Like that. You're just confirming something. It's Shamoda. Shamoda? Shamoda? Wait, Shamao? Or is it Mao? Shamoda? Shamoda? A Shamoda. A Shamoda. I'm doing my best to read it. Shamoda. Did I get it? Is it perfect? 100% perfect? Claire says, I'm going to spell my name as Claire. 당신의 영상들이 너무 좋아요. Thank you. Your videos are very good. Okay. Okay, I want to go back to plain form a bit. I feel like we've strayed further and further from the truth. We have to go back to the lesson. But that's important too. You should know that. So one of the biggest things you're going to use, actually, I'll ask you, what do you already know how to do with the plain form? What is a common place that you'll use the plain form besides talking to yourself or like announcing something, like I said, besides what I already said, talking to yourself or announcing something to someone? Where else might you use the plain form? It's really common in Korea. I just want to know what other ways you know of. Strayed, like kids often do, you might say. Strayed like kids, yes. The kids that have been strayed. Plain form is used for reported speech, right? Like quotes? It quotes. Diary? Yeah, any sort of writing, like an essay, a journal, would also be using plain form. Although, if you're doing it like as a Korean practice journal, it's okay to use, the Yule form just for practicing it. But for an actual journal entry or for an actual essay, you 100% need to do only plain form. Social media, you could, but again, it'll sound like the same thing. It'll sound like you're doing an announcement, like everybody, this, like that. We already got the answer, actually, the biggest answer, which is for quotes, like Decoy Octopus and Keith both got it. I enjoyed your movie, American Pie. Was I in a movie that I didn't know? 신문 방송. Headlines? Yeah. Headlines are also another way you'll see it used. But the biggest one is, I think, quotes. Someone, he, she, they, I, you, whatever, said something, or like yelled something, or asked something, or whispered something. Anything that's quoting. Anytime you would use quotes, you're gonna need to use the plain form every single time for that. So the way it works, now you might already know this, but if you can do the plain form, you can really easily make quotes. And there's only one exception that you have to learn for how to do it. So the way it works, you take a plain form, whatever verb, so like 하다, 한다, 했다, 할 거다, 하겠다, whatever form you want. So plain form, whatever it is that you want to say. So like, let's say I said it tastes good. So we have our 맛있다, 맛있다, or just 맛있다 if you don't even want the E. That's optional, but 맛있다. Here, 맛있다, we're done. Here's our plain form. It is delicious. Then you attach 고. Now, if you've already learned this before, I'll give you an extra note. But if you've never learned this before, plug your ears for a second, because I don't want to corrupt you with this knowledge so soon. This is too powerful for your beginner ears. But if you're past this already, this is actually optional. Most of the time it's used, but you'll see it without it too. It doesn't change the meaning at all. It just makes it, if you remove it, it makes it sound more like spoken only speech. Like this is something that someone would only say, never for writing it. But you'll you might sometimes hear it without the ko. It's the same meaning. Okay, all right, the beginners, you can unplug your ears now. Ha! That was a really funny joke I told for only people who aren't beginners anymore. All right, so once you do this, the only other thing you need to do to make a quote is write the verb that you did. In which case, like, do we want to say, like, I said it tastes good? 맛있다. It tastes good. I said it. Well, said is like 말하다, right? Although 말하다 is most commonly just shortened to 하다 when you're talking about saying something. So 하다 for saying something. Or do you want to like scream it? 외치다, like to shout it. Do you want to like I don't know, whisper it. Well, how do you want to say it? 9 times out of 10, it's just going to be hada, because you're just saying it. Like, I said this. Now, there are other verbs we could go over. Kuroda is another common one. Kuroda is also to say, but it's only used in conversational speech. So you're not going to use this in writing, not going to use this on an essay, but it's commonly used for speaking. Just like someone's, but same meaning, said, basically. So, 마시다 고, and then I said, past tense, said, 했어요, 했어요, 맛있다고 했어요. I said, 했어요, that, 고, quotes, 맛있다. Again, so 맛있다 by itself has no formality. It's not polite or casual. How polite the sentence is 100% determined by this last verb conjugation. So if you say 맛있다고 했어, that's casual speech, right? 맛있다고 했어요. That's informal, but probably polite. 맛있다고 했습니다. Now it's formal. 맛있다고 하셨어요. That person someone else said. Now it's honorific for that person. 맛있다고 하셨습니다. That other person formally had said this thing. Whatever you want to say, 맛있다고 했다. 맛있다고 했다. They said it tastes good. Whatever you want to do is how polite it is all determined by that last verb there. And this is all you have to do to make a quote. Now, again, you're saying, quote. That's it. That's the only way it works. Someone says, whatever verb for you want says, typically it's going to be hada. Could also be like 노래 부르다, like to sing a song, or like 부르다, to sing, whatever you want. But most common, it's going to be hada. Quote, whatever. What if we wanted to say like, hey, Charsu, do you have any money? 돈이 없다. 돈이 없다고 했어요. 돈이 없다고 했어요? 철수가 돈이 없다고 했어요? 철수 said, or just 돈이 없다고 했어요? He said, if you don't want to include the name. 없다고 했어요? He said that 돈이 없어요? He said 돈이 없다 is basically what you're saying. Again, quotes, 돈이 없다, quote, 고 했어요. So they said they don't have any money. That's all you have to do. You take a plain form, which we already did, in any tense. Again, it could be 없다, present tense, but what if we're talking about like yesterday? Hey, yesterday, why didn't Charsu pay for my lunch? I thought he would pay for me. He's a millionaire. Past tense. 돈이 없었다. 어제 철수가 왜 내 점심 안 사줬어? How come Charsu didn't buy my lunch yesterday? 돈이 없었다고 했어. 돈이 없었다고 했어. He said that he didn't. Again, past tense, did not have money. 했어. He said, past tense. Let me just clear this up a bit. It's getting a little messy. I'll also put kuroda here because, like I said, it's really common for speech, but you wouldn't want to do it on an essay. And kuroda conjugates as 그래. 그래 or 그래요, or past tense 그랬어요. I would recommend learning this too. Exact same, like 돈이 없다고 그랬어요. 돈이 없다고 그래. So this is more of a spoken only version of say. And the nuance is kind of like, he was like, she was like, they were like, I don't have any money. So it has that more of like general, this is what they were saying, to give you the gist of what they were saying. It was like this. So it sounds like it's something only for spoken Korean. But, oh, I'm sorry, I realized this is cut off. Let me write this a little higher so you can read it. Okay, yeah, there you can go. It's barely at the bottom of the board, I know. It's funny, for you, that's the bottom. For me, that's halfway down the board. All this stuff keeps falling off. Someday I'll get a new board. Someday I'll do a a sponsor goal so I can buy a new whiteboard, like a bigger one that can go kind of behind me, I think would be good to give him extra space. You look like a hero in that movie. I've never seen the movie actually, so I'm not sure. Do I look like Jason Biggs? Jason Biggs. Hold on. I got to search Jason Biggs. American Pie. Jason Biggs. Really? This guy? I see it. I see it. I could totally see what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying. Yeah, I could totally see what you're saying. Oh, Kai, thank you. Kai donated to my build a computer before 2030 fund. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to get one this year, but maybe before 2030, I can build a new computer. So all donations today and for the next year or 2 years or 3 years go toward the Billy wants to build a new computer sometime before 2030 fund, so I can finally do my editing without having my computer crash every 5 minutes. Thank you. Happy top of the hour to you too, Kai. Yeah, I could totally see it. Really, though, I see myself a lot more in, I've heard other people say this, Charlie Puth. That's the biggest one, I think. I would admit he looks, in some photos, he looks really like me. Now, I can't sing like him. He doesn't have to beg for donations like I do. But I definitely see his face in mine. And then the other one is Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That I can see some similarities as well with him and I. Homegrown look. Okay. 돈을 다 훔쳤다고 했어요. Oh, Helen, you want to use 돈을 with the object marker. Since the money itself, you don't mark it with the subject unless the money is the thing that's being described with the verb. But in this case, it's not. You're saying someone stole the money. It's doing something to the money, so you need the object marker on it. Okay. So that's all there is to making quotes, but there's an exception. I mentioned there's an exception. The verb ida. Ida does not become ida with quoting. When you're using it for quotes, both ida and anida, because anida is actually just anida originally, that becomes anida as one word. But ida becomes ira after a consonant, or just la after a vowel. And anida becomes anila always. Anida. That's it. 아니라고 했어요. 제가 철수의 아버지가 아니라고 했어요. I said that I am not 철수's father. 제가 철수의 친구라고 했어요. So I said I am 철수's friend. So 이다 and 아니다 become 이다 and 아니라. That's all you have to remember. Let me just double check. I think that's it. Yeah. That is it. One exception. How cool is that? We got literally one exception for making quotes. Now, I haven't talked about all types of quotes. There are actually 4 types of quotes. Like typically just saying someone says something, that's it. That's all you have to do. If you want to say someone asked, is this? Like that's a different type of quote because you're not just quoting something that someone said. You're changing the quote into a question. You're saying someone said, is, do you not, is making a question. So you'd use a slightly different form if you're quoting a question as well as a suggestion. Like someone said, let's do something. 가자, 먹자, You know, like let's 공부하자, 한국어 배우자, let's learn Korean. A let's suggestion, you would use the suggestion. It's actually really easy. I can tell you right now. You just use the ta ending with 고. 하다 would be 하자고, 가다, 가자고, like that. It's just ta for suggestions. But besides that, oh, and then commands. So someone said to do something. So you're not quoting like someone said, you have to do it. They're not saying that, but there's someone said, do it. Someone said command. That's also a different form. You'd use a command form first before cool. But for any sort of regular statement, someone said, quote unquote, you're saying exactly what it is that they said. Anytime you're just quoting what they said, this is all you need to know. And this is the only exception you need is just ida. Why is this one an exception? Well, it's actually not an exception. Traditionally, this was the original way ida conjugated. And because it's also such a common verb, this original conjugation stuck around. So that's why you still see it today in a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I totally forgot to prepare like caffeine or water or anything for today. But that's pretty much the review. I'm not done though. I want to take some questions. If you have questions about this form or usage of it or like verb conjugation or anything, now would be a good time to ask. But that's all the stuff that I prepared to kind of review with you. So hopefully you can kind of feel like a little more comfortable with making quotes. If you would like right now to make it a quote practice in the chat, I will check it for you. So if you're not quite sure about how do I make a quote, like a simple quote, like someone said this, ask it right now and I'll fix it for you right away. Get some live feedback. Put him a top person of interest. Billie Jean is not my lover and Chursu is not my son. That's the song that was unreleased. In fact, that was the song that cost Michael his life. He tried to publish it, but they're like, you can't put this song out, Michael. That's exposing the secret, the Chursu network. So it's kind of a conspiracy theory that I believe. But yeah, Michael Jackson they couldn't have him sing that song. So they re-recorded it with what lyrics that you know today later. I'd say the lesson was put quite plainly. Paw 3, sir. Oh. This must be after the Chursu baby eating allegations. Yeah. Although today in 2026, that sounds less out there. I heard he wasn't allowed to talk about Chursu. Yeah. There's a whole thing with Chursu actually wrote all of Michael Jackson's songs. It's a whole conspiracy thing. We won't get into it for today. Chursu was the real genius, though. I'm totally gonna see Michael Jackson. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna see the movie that's gonna be coming out this year. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if it'll be good, but it'll be kind of fun. You know, just to hear the music, I guess. Yeah, Eggy says 2030. We'll hope so, at least by 2030, right? But you know, I'm already pretty good. I'm already $35. That's for a $3,000 goal. In one day, I am over more than 1% of my goal. So if I do 100 live streams and each one I get $35 in donations average, then after 100 live streams, that's in like what? Just 3 years? Because I don't stream when I'm in Korea. Yeah, less than 3 years, I'll have earned $3,000 to buy a new computer. So it's not a crazy deal. I mean, it's not a crazy goal if you think about it like that. And Michael Jackson said, "I am your father, Chursu," like Star Wars. No, Luke, Oh, actually, I can't spoil that. I don't want to spoil that if you haven't seen Star Wars. It only came out in 1980. That line. 지난 수업에 빌리 선생님이 수면 부족은 면역력을 떨어뜨린다고 했어요. I remember. Yes. That's right. I did. Excited to still be taking lessons. Hopefully you'll be farther along. I'm more than happy to always be there for you guys, but at the same time, like a parent, you want to see your kids grow up and leave the nest. You want to see them no longer need you anymore. So my goal is to get you guys well fed, give you the Korean knowledge that you need, and then that combined with your own practice and listen, lots of listening practice, making friends, you'll eventually kind of like look back at me and you'll be like, oh, I remember when I needed Billy. Haha, thanks, Billy. And I'll be like, see you. And you're walking off into the distance, going off into the sunset, riding on your horse, that sort of thing. But yeah, although 4 years isn't definitely like a long enough time to get fluent for everyone, that could be still, it depends on your environment and everything. Still though, it'd be nice. How come you don't stream well in Korea? I do stream in Korea. I stream in Korea at least every 2 weeks, but the streams aren't these classes because I can't bring this in my carry-on. Unfortunately, it doesn't fold. I tried it, but it'll if I do it, it'll completely snap. 필리는 제가 인용할 수 있다고? Yeah, you can quote. 옛날에 철수가 아기들을 먹는다고 했어요. That's right. I did say that 철수 ate babies. That I shouldn't have. I didn't want to expose the that network of the. It's too risky. This feels like mom is nicely asking us to move out after we turn 18. Well, I'll always be here. But yeah, it is my hope that you don't need to rely on me forever for your Korean learning. I'd rather, like, it's nice if I could keep making profit from people learning Korean, but at the same time, I need to actually help people learn Korean. That's the good, that way you tell your friends, all right? Oh yeah, I learned the basics from Billy. I learned all this from Billy. And then, okay, that's good. So there's a balance between how much I want to have you as a student and how much I also want you to improve so that you get to the point where you watch me for notes, but not that you have to like get your information from me, I guess. You can do it on your own. I'm just here to kind of guide you along, I guess. What streams do you do in Korea? I do live streams in Korea. You can see my other past years live streams. I usually walk around, go to some place new, show you guys what it looks like, get lost hiking somewhere. 제 이름은 정인용인. Okay. Your name is literally, quote, I have to frequently pause my learning due to life stuff, and it's frustrating. That's okay. Pausing your learning isn't as negative as you might think. Now, if you pause at the very beginning, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of what you learned because your brain hasn't yet done anything with it. So if you learn for like a few months and then pause for a few months, your brain's going to like kind of throw away a lot of the stuff you learn. But when you've been studying for longer, like a couple years, and you pause, your brain's going to keep most of it. It'll throw away some of the stuff that's less common, but it's going to actually like solidify the stuff that you hadn't used. Even if you haven't been using it, it's going to solidify the stuff you know, because it knows that that's important information to you, that you spent so much time doing it. It's not going to throw it all away. So it's going to make it even better. So you're losing a little bit by not continuing it. But at the same time, because time is passing, your brain is still going to be sorting out that, and you're still going to have some of that when you get back. Like even my Japanese, like I had talked about this before, the last time I picked up my Japanese study book was before I even started this YouTube channel, like way before I even started this YouTube channel. So obviously I should have forgotten everything, right? Well, I still can understand shows without subtitles. So what's up with that? I'm not practicing. I'm not learning anything. I certainly can't remember all those words. I forgot a lot just because the time has passed and my brain knows that's an important thing I spent so much time doing. So even though I'm not getting better, it's not like I forgot everything. It's kind of like I still remember a lot of the basic stuff that I knew. And yeah, it'll be the same for Korean. So it's okay to take breaks, but I would say if you can, try not to take breaks in the very beginning. Try to get a lot of the basics done, and then you can take a break like a month. It's not going to hurt you. It's totally fine. I do appreciate the cushion you provide. Nice. 빌리는 제가 인용 만들 수 있다고 했다. 빌리는 제가 인용할 수 있다고. Well, usually if you're talking about a quote, you'd use the word just 인용 by itself. 인용하다 is to quote something. So you would say, I can make quotes. Or, yeah, that's one way you could say it. Just with 인용 만들다. Go Billy Japanese. Yeah, we're not going to see that anytime soon. No Go Billy Japanese, because my Japanese level isn't high enough to teach other people. I mean, if you wanted, I could probably, the best I could ever do would be like a really, really basic introductory lesson of Japanese. Like probably the stuff in my beginner course, I'd be fine with in the same stuff in Japanese, but I want to be at least much higher level than that to teach that beginning stuff. So that way I'm not missing anything. Yeah, I'm not going to do it though. Go Billy English. Yeah, I did actually have a Go Billy English for a while. I just don't upload to it. Because I realized I don't really enjoy teaching English. I enjoy teaching Korean. 일본어 배워보고 싶은데 한국어보다 많이 어려워요? No, I think that if you start learning Japanese, the beginning aspects of the language are very simple. So simple that you could learn really basic Japanese conversation for a trip in like 3 months. Because the language is a syllabic language. It's like based on syllables, not just based on vowels and consonants. Whereas in Korean is like an English alphabet. So you have vowels and consonants. It's harder to pronounce. You have to learn that. Whereas Japanese, although you do have to learn the different writing systems, if you want to read and write it, as far as speaking it goes, you only memorize those syllables. And then there's one letter that's two, I guess, if you count the object marker, that's actually just a letter, but everything else it's just a syllable. So it's pre-made syllable. You just say it as it is. And because Japanese is such a high context language, even more so than Korean, you can get away with sentences in Japanese that are really short and would sound incomplete in Korean and definitely incomplete in English. But you can't do it in Korean. So you can get away with less as a beginner. Beyond the basics, they're equal. They're both really, really challenging in different ways. And I'd say in some ways Korean's a lot harder, but in other ways, like you have to learn 14 different ways to read kanji in Japanese. Like for some of them, like it's not as straightforward as Korean for some of that stuff. You also have to learn how to read people's names. Common ones, are pretty easy, but then there's some less common ones that there are challenges in both languages. So I'm not going to say one is harder or easier, but I will say in the very beginning, Japanese is by far easier. Yeah, keigo, once you get into the polite speech, it's very difficult because you don't have any way to experience that unless you study for it. And Japanese people themselves also can't do it unless they practice that. They can understand it, but to make it for like business, they also have to kind of practice to speak with that sort of keigo, that polite speech. Whereas Koreans can do it default because it's a normal part of your speaking to do different types of honorifics and stuff. Japanese will also have a lot of different verbs for things depending on the level of politeness, which you don't have to worry about in Korean. There are only a couple for humble speech in Korean, like pepda and turida, and that's it. Or I guess yotjupda, you can count a couple others. But yeah, Japanese has a ton of them, so it's different. It's difficult in a different way. Makudo narudo. Yeah, or makudo is, I believe, if you're in like Osaka or something like that. But anyway, yeah, makudo narudo, the Japanese McDonald's. McDonald. I mean, the Korean one is not super easy to say either if you're an English speaker. McDonald. McDonald. Funny thing, I never eat McDonald's in the US, but when I'm in Korea, I'll get it like every 2 weeks because it's like the only American style hamburger you can get in a lot of places is McDonald's, unless you want Burger King. And I don't like Burger King. Even in the US, I don't like it. But so in Korea, I'll probably go to McDonald's like once, maybe not 2 weeks, at least a month. Every month I'll go there just to get like, a shake or fries or whatever, just if I want something that's like really American style. It's not my favorite restaurant though, but there aren't that many choices. The other option is to get Korean hamburgers, which are good, but they don't scratch the same itch. It doesn't really, they don't do it for me. It's easy at the beginning, aside from 90 plus letters. Yeah, I remember spending a lot of time doing that, but like once you learn the letters, I don't know, it just wasn't that big of a deal, I feel. You just kind of get used to it. Okay, what other questions we got? I'll stick around for like 10 more minutes, then we'll stop the stream. Loteria mozzarella patty. Mozzarella patty? I never had that before. Sounds okay. I'm not a big fan of Loteria personally. I feel like they have, that's like the science lab of hamburgers. They always have these random burgers and random things at Loteria. And if you get their expensive stuff, I think most of the expensive stuff they sell tastes okay. But if you get their cheap stuff, for me, it's like a waste of money. It's just not edible for a lot of their cheaper burgers. I just don't get it. Like, who would like this? Like, you eat it, like, it's not good. It tastes like one of those microwave convenience store burgers for a lot of their cheap stuff. And again, if you put the money down, you pay for their, $10 burger, they're okay. They're pretty good and they're interesting, but I just wasn't a fan of the Loteria. Bulgogi burger. Sometimes bulgogi burgers are okay. I'm not a big fan of the ones that I've had though, like McDonald's one. It was a patty with deep fried mozzarella. Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty good. How to write taicha? I'm not sure are you talking about a name? I don't know that word. I don't know what language it's supposed to be. How can I read Korean fast? You know what? I actually have a video about exactly that question. How to read Korean quickly. That's coming out. I'll tell you when it's coming out. Oh, wow. That's coming out in April. Since I started the podcast, that every other week I upload a podcast, it means that the videos normally would have normally been posted already. It's going to come out in April, but I have a video about how to read Korean more quickly with a Korean that I interviewed who reads a ton of books. Is very smart. And so you can look forward to that, where I give some more detailed tips. But the really short version is you want to take notes while you're reading. You find reading content that you enjoy. And so you don't want to just go and buy like a dictionary or a really complicated book or like Harry Potter in Korean. You want to find something specifically that you actually would want to read. And, but yeah, there's some other tips that they give in the video as well. Don't do kids books if you can. Kids books are pretty complicated. They're usually going to be higher than your level. Kids books are okay if you're like already at an advanced level, but for beginners, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. You can read some of the books though that Jeremy picks. Like what I mean when you don't want kids books is like children's, like babies books is what I mean you don't want. You can get books for like teenager kids, but not books that are like the soft rabbit bounced playfully through the field and went boing boing. Like you don't want the really baby books like that. But regular kids books for like young teenagers are fine. Jeremy has some that he actually I think that's coming out. No, that video already came out in November. You can watch the video I did where I filmed with Jeremy and we went to the bookstore and he spent $100 on a bunch of books. And those types of books would probably be fine, I think, for a lot of beginners. Is it possible to prepare for TOPIK 6 from zero in 5 months? 100% impossible. Like, literally, Stephen Hawking could have a child with Albert Einstein, and they couldn't do it. That's what I mean by when I say impossible. Claire Wilson, I laughed so hard when reading a Talk to Me in Korean story out loud, and suddenly I realized what Big Mac. Yeah, Big Mac. I saw a Talk to Me in Korea interview. Yeah, I did an interview with Hyunwoo. That was actually just this last week. It's really recent. And it's already up on their Spotify page. I also shared a link in Discord if you'd like to see that. But Talk to Me in Korean has an interview series, and their latest episode features Another Korean teacher with a similar name as me goes by Billy Go. And yeah, we just did an interview for about like 40 minutes, and you can listen to it there. We talked about what are the downsides to living in Korea without speaking Korean, and what things do you gain? What are things you're actually missing out on while not speaking Korean, but if you live in Korea? And there's a lot of stuff that you might not think that you're missing out on if you don't speak Korean, because everyone in Korea, especially in Seoul, can speak English to an extent. So you might think you're not missing anything, but there's a lot. So we talked about that. I know how to write Korean and read a little, but why is it still hard for me to pronounce sentences? How long have you been studying? Have you checked out my beginner course? Those are the first two things I would recommend. Check out my beginner course first. And then if you haven't been studying for very long, like a few weeks, I wouldn't even worry about that question yet. Ouch, not an attractive babe. I didn't say attractive. I said intelligent. Also, I don't know how Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein would have a kid, but they'll figure it out with science. Trying to read Korean subtitles before they disappear has been speeding up my reading a bit. Oh yeah, that would be pretty difficult because they go by really fast. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I can just take a couple more questions, and then we'll go for today. Yeah, mozzarella patty sounds pretty good though. If it's only fried mozzarella, like is it breaded? Is it like a breaded deep fried mozzarella stick, but in the shape of a patty? Could be good, but it would depend what's on it. Yeah, lately though, I'm a big fan of like not shows, but like channels on YouTube that are made by Koreans, like vlogs and stuff, because there's so much content that's already subtitled and where they're speaking completely naturally, not like scripted, but they're just talking. So you get to hear what Koreans actually sound like. There's so much content for that, as well as you can find stuff that exactly is about something that you're interested in. So like street interviews or like talk shows or vlogs, like beauty vlogs or just like lifestyle vlogs or whatever, exercising, hiking, all that stuff. Also, some Korean videos use weird fonts for their subtitles. Yeah, that's true. There are some weird fonts. If you're a beginner, you probably want to avoid that. Oh, Blondies. Thank you. Thank you, Blondies. You gave me 5 Canadian dollars. I'll use that next time I go to Canada. Put my YouTube card in the ATM and click Canadian dollars, and then it'll extract all the Canadian dollars I've been donated throughout the years. Like $5.85. Yes. Gonna use it to buy one of those beaver tails. That's all I want from Canada. I just want to get those beaver tails. 제일 좋아하는 한식이 뭐예요? My favorite Korean food is sundae. Sundae is a blood sausage. It's not just made out of blood though. That would be gross. It's got noodles and different spices, and it's really good. And it has the intestines as the casing, kind of like a tripe sort of thing, but it tastes kind of like a sausage in a way. And they make soup with it where they have like a bunch of, what do you call it? Like not leafy. I can't think of the word. Namu. Like sprouts and different vegetables and stuff, and cabbage sometimes, different types of ingredients in there. And then they put lots of sundae in the soup and you eat it. It's like really hot and flavorful. It is so good. I don't think a lot of people would like it their very first time though. If you've never had, like, if you're not used to Korean food, you might think it's a bit strong because it has a slight gamey type of feel to it. Not strong though, but a little bit. But yeah, it's great. It's my favorite Korean food by far. Get poutine. Yeah, I gotta try that too. Breaded like cheese sticks. Oh, that sounds good. Okay, 2 centimeters thick. All right, so about like that. The World of Dave Korean videos. Yeah, I remember I used to watch him all the time. Back like 10 years ago. I used to watch him all the time. Can you explain the ing form? I hear it a lot in old videos or dramas, but I don't quite understand it. Can you give me a sentence example? But I think I know what you're talking about. You're just talking about it's just a cutesy ending. And it's not the ing ending if you're talking about, it's just the ing ending. So you conjugate a verb, like hada would become, like for example, mo heo, right? Normally hada would become he or heo. Well, you take the conjugation that you want to use, whatever it is, if you're using he or heo, and all you do is you attach this letter. This letter is known as ing, which is like the ng sound, and you just stick that at the end. So if you're saying heyo, then it's heyong. If you're saying hey, it's hang. Whatever the conjugation is, after you've conjugated it. So it's not just hada, it's not hung. That would be weird. It's always the conjugated verb, like you would make the yo form, and you attach this to the bottom. It does not change the meaning. It just makes it a little cutesy, like wink, wink. That's all it does. It just adds the nuance of like smiling and like kind of winking at the camera. And it makes it sound a little bit cutesy. Now, that doesn't mean that it's like overly cutesy or that it's rude. It just makes it a little bit playfully cute. So you'll see situations where you can use it in polite speech too with, like I said, yo, yong, like 안녕하세요, like that. It's just like, hey, like just a cutesy kind of wink sort of feeling you add to your sentence. It can be cringy if you do it too much, but you'll see it sometimes. That's all it is. I think that's what you're talking about. Please let the beavers keep their tails. I'm going to get all the beaver tails and eat them when they're nice and warm. Something they do in Canada. I don't know. I guess I have to go to the forest to get these. I'm not going to look anything up. I'm just going to go to Canada and catch a beaver. And when someone asks me what I'm doing, when the park ranger's like, you can't do that, sir, I'm going to be like, I see. You're being sarcastic. I've heard about that Canadian sarcasm. And I'm going to take a bite of the beaver tail right in front of him. 기회가 된다면 먹어볼 거예요. Yeah, they have it outside of Korea as well. It's a pretty common dish. But I will say that any sundae I've had outside of Korea has not been like half as good as the kind you get in Korea. I found. It's like it's always been okay, whether I buy it prepackaged or at a restaurant or even like in a Korean neighborhood in LA. It's never as good as anywhere random in Korea. Like the worst sundae I've had in Korea is better than the best sundae I've had in LA. There's just something about it. I think it's just because there aren't very many places that even make it in the US. And there's not really much demand for it here. So whereas in Korea, there's so many suppliers for it. So and people make it themselves. I just think they have more options for it. Yeah. It's just making it cutesy. That's it. Every single time it's the exact same thing. It's not an ing ending. It's that circle letter ending is what it is. If you take that off, you get the original word. Oh, silly question. The default here kitty kitty noise in English is pss, 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 pss. Yeah, you can do sounds as well for cats. Nabi is, like I mentioned this briefly, like if you want to call out to cats, because they do it a little differently, you can also make the sounds. Nabi or Nabia. Nabia is just a generic name for any sort of rando cat. It's basically, you can translate it as rando cat. You can call him Nabi. Psst, Nabia. Oh, Nabia. Like you kind of call out to them like that. Or you can try the pss, pss, pss. But I don't think the pss, pss, pss actually works. I haven't had much success with it. I found that what works sometimes is like ignoring the cat. Like you make eye contact, make eye contact, and then you just you break eye contact. That kind of tells the cat that you're safe, that you're not going to harm them, is by making eye contact first, but then breaking your eye contact. So I feel like if you just keep looking at them and like that, they're just going to run away. They don't want that. Imagine tuning in and Billy's just talking about eating beavers. Nip could be the opposite. So nip is another form of ne, but it's not a adding a p up. It's not a grammar form itself. It's just a separate word. Nip would be a less serious version of ne, but it's not a cutesy winksy form. It's just a less straightforward. Like ne is like yes. Like in English, like we would say yes, but you don't always want to say yes. You might want to say gotcha or like uh-huh or for sure. You know, you want to confirm something, which in Korean, ne would be the most polite way to do that. You want to confirm it by saying ne, but you don't want it to have the nuance of yes, yes, every single time. You kind of want to have like, yes, okay, all right, good, sounds good. So nep, or ne nep. You just add a p up at the end of ne to make it nep, and it's does the same thing. Kind of like saying yep instead of yes, though not quite the same nuance, but same idea. I always use okay. Nobby is also a butterfly. Yes, that's the word for butterfly. So I shouldn't address my cat as Nobby. Well, I mean, you wouldn't address your own cat if you know their name. You would address them as your cat's name, you know, which is Mr. Sparkles the Third, or Captain Buttocks, or Furry Haired Godzilla, or whatever you named your cat. The dumbest names in the world are cat names, I swear. But you would call strangers cats. Again, not your friend's cat, but a cat that's rando that you don't know. You would call them Nabi. I find sotok worked well for calling cats. Yeah, that'll work well for anyone. I'm gonna be like right next to you if you got some good sotok. I'll be sitting right next to you. You're like pss, 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 to the cat, and you look over, and I'm sitting there like, hey, got any extra? Blinking at them slowly shows you're friendly. Okay, I guess so. Yeah, because they don't want like, that's like they're being hunted. But like, hey, like that, or like I look at them and I'll kind of like look away. Tells them like, hey, I am here, but I'm not a threat. I'm gonna look over here. And then if they're interested, they'll come walk over. Random question, but do people use emojis a lot in Korea when texting? Yes, a ton. So much. Yeah. They use the app Kakao Talk, which has tons of built-in emojis. They'll use those at least, but I found most people will actually purchase emoticon packs so that way they can have their own like, you know, unique kind of personality in their emojis, and they'll use specific emoji packs. Should I focus on vocab or grammar more as a low intermediate learner? Okay. Low intermediate learner, so you're not able to have conversations much yet. Grammar. If the question is, what should I focus on, vocab or grammar, and you cannot yet speak full sentences, even if it's slow, the answer is grammar. If you can make sentences and speak kind of slowly, the answer is going to be vocab, because there's always going to be more vocab and always going to be more grammar you could learn. But as far as what's going to be more useful to you as a brand new beginner, if you can't yet speak, so like low intermediate level sort of there, is going to be grammar, because it's still going to be the stuff you need to even understand what's being said. Beyond that, though, I would say focus more on vocab. Okay, I think that's enough for today. I do want to say thank you again to those of you who are watching, supporting me, especially to the people who supported our stream for today. Lexica, Kai, Somada. I'm not sure if you're still here. If I'm butchering your name, I'm sorry, but that's my best attempt. And Blondies. Thank you so much. And next week and the next week after that, we're going to have regular lessons again. But today I just wanted to do a regular, review of plain form and kind of hang out for a bit. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you again next week. Also, make sure to check out on my channel tomorrow. You'll get the first Stray Kids video. Okay. See you, everyone. Take care. 다음에 또 봐.